Hello, I am Freema Gottlieb. Welcome to the weekly Torah reading, Parshat Tavo. The blessings that come from following the Torah and the curses from not doing so are repeated in Parshat Bechukotai in Vayikra, Sefer, the book of Leviticus, and in this week's Parsha of Tavo. In this week's Parsha, there are twice as many curses as those listed in Bechukotai. The 13th century commentator Ramban, drawing from the Zohar, says that although the 48 curses listed in Vayikra refer to the destruction of the first temple and the ensuing Babylonian exile, which ended after 70 years, the 96 curses in Tavo apply to the destruction of the second temple and our present-day situation, which has lasted nearly 2,000 years, with no guarantee of a positive outcome. Nevertheless, both Ramban and the Hasidic commentator Shem Mishmuel sense that in Tavo there is the better deal. Given a choice between something with a good start and an unresolved ending, or the other way around, most people would opt for the latter, an unresolved start, but that ends well. Yet the Shem Mishmuel thinks differently. What truly is important is to make clear what the Jewish story is all about. The covenantal relation between God and Israel, love, with joy at its heart. Therefore, this week's reading starts out strongly, marking the relationship as inherently upbeat. Everything else, the curses, the exile, the desolation, the suffering, is a departure from the primal order of which joy sets the tone. Tavo begins with a description of joy in its most physical and universal form, joy in the land, and joy in performing the mitzvah of giving first fruits. And you shall rejoice because of all the good which the Lord your God has given you. And you want to give him something in return. In joy, there is an element that is not only social, but divine. According to Ramban, this extension from the individual to the transpersonal and beyond is possible only through the land. It is this condition which makes the Jewish people flourish and the covenant a reality. The land is not merely some external entity or means to strengthen our physical existence or even our spiritual existence, but the knot that connects us to the depths of our own soul. While making the rounds of his or her orchard, the Jewish farmer may come across a ripening pomegranate or date. Rather than stretch out a hand to sample their produce, they tie it with a string and declare it first fruits. When the time comes to pick it off the bough or from the ground, this declaration is repeated, and the fruit is set aside in a basket. At the moment of greatest joy, the farmer must show restraint in order to achieve something even higher. He or she is not alone in doing so. From all four corners of the land they come with choice fruits. The Mishnah describes this national explosion of joy in idyllic pastoral terms. Representatives from villages of all the 24 portions of the land stream toward Jerusalem, riding gilded, wreathed animals, surrounded by flocks of birds, and carrying decorated wicker baskets of first fruits, bikurim. They would break up their journey in the main towns and sleep in the streets, without entering the homes of the locals so as not to disturb them. Civility. When they arose, the supervisor would say, Rise up, let us go up to Zion, to the house of the Lord our God. Those who were close would bring dates and grapes, fresh fruits, and those who were far would bring dried figs and raisins. A bull went before them, its horns plated with gold, and it would have an olive wreath around its head. To the sound of flutes they approached Jerusalem, sending a messenger ahead and adorning their bikurim. The officers and treasurers of the city would stand up to greet them. Our brothers and sisters from such and such, come in peace. Havenu shalom aleichem. Finally, raising his basket or hers to hand it over in front of God and the public, the farmer would acknowledge, "Today I have come into the land." After the priest accepts the gift, he tells the checkered history of the Jewish people, from their subjugation and enslavement to their nomadic existence and miraculous homecoming. Through the gift of first fruits, God's bounty is given to the nation to be enjoyed as a seal of the covenant, formalizing their partnership. But what about the tochachot, those devastating curses with which Tavo and Bechukotai are associated? According to the Zohar, while the curses in Bechukotai were just desserts for cardinal crimes such as idolatry, immorality, and murder, for which redemption was only partial, those in Tavo were not curses at all, but rather concealments of love and great blessing. During the Second Temple period, Israel did not commit any of the offenses listed above. What brought on calamity was emotional attrition and divisiveness, leading to groundless hate. Because you did not serve the Lord your God from joy and wholeness of heart. However dreadful these curses may seem, it is within our power to rectify them. More joy. Is Tavo the Jewish ode to joy? Observance precisely of the laws to do with the land, of which Bikurim is a signal example, results in a state where blessed shall you be in the city and blessed shall you be in the field. Says Rav Kook, the first chief rabbi of Israel, of the modern state. Blessed shall you be in the city, because you are blessed in the field. Courtesy and equality will reign between different sectors of the population, because the agricultural laws of the Torah teach that we all depend on one another. Though some may be more involved in physical labor and others are more intellectual or spiritually oriented, no one will exploit or put down anyone else. On the contrary, everyone will acknowledge the contribution the other makes to the whole of Am Yisrael. This sample agricultural command of Bikurim is the antidote to baseless hate and the recipe for wholehearted joyfulness, which allows the highest divine blessing to emerge from under cover. Shabbat Shalom.